Welcome to r/Reddit Revenge. This is a story of someone getting back at someone with revenge after being wronged. Thank you, friends, for subscribing to the channel and for so many likes. The first story. Two friends orchestrated a spectacularly petty scheme involving food and drink orders, a fake job ad, and chaos for their uncooperative employers. The second story. IT specialist finds greener pastures after leaving a print shop and even gets a revenge with remote computer access. The third story. Students organize Operation Southern Freedom to expose a corrupt principal with a dark past, forcing his resignation and putting an end to his abusive reign. Today's first story is Par for the Course. This is a very old story, but gets an A for pettiness and an A+ for revenge. I worked at a place, guess what kind, that added a restaurant and bar. I set up the bar and a guy I soon became friends with set up the kitchen. It was small. Bar sat 12 to 16. Dining room sat 40. The owners knew nothing, so we started from scratch. Recipes, glassware, plates, menus, drink menus, etc. Both of us paid an agency to find us a job. Common practice then, and we paid a fee to them. The place we worked paid half the fee, but if we were fired before we paid it off, they were off the hook. Fast forward 6 months. My now good friend running the kitchen gets canned for no good reason. They told him, we're just not doing each other any good anymore. They just didn't need him. He had the kitchen running, staff hired, recipes, everything they needed. They just didn't want to pay him, nor did they want to pay the agency fee. Well, that freaked me out, of course. I assumed I was next. They took me in the office and explained that they felt that he was not doing a great job, but I was and they needed me. Liars. A week later I heard, hey, can I see you in the office? Where I get the we aren't doing anything for each other anymore talk. I had a hunch, so I said okay, but I wanted to take my stuff with me. Recipes, alcoholic beverage commission info, details on vendors, etc. They kindly offered me the opportunity to pick it up at a later date, but I decided I'd take it with me. However, they did an end around. They'd already copied my recipes days before without my knowledge along with other stuff. I found it out a few days later from friends who worked there. I paid a server $20 to knock the recipe card holder off in the trash 2 days later and cover with napkins. So Kitchen Eye and I go get drunk and come up with a plan. A very petty plan. We agree not to tell anyone about it, even our best friends. This could get us in jail. So we begin. On a Friday, Kitchen Guy calls all the food vendors as the owner's son-in-law. Tells them we have a major event that next week. Orders 2 weeks worth of food. Steaks, lots of steaks. Ribs, chicken, produce, frozen food, an SH load of food. I call the bar vendors, as the owner's son-in-law, and order enough booze to keep Billy Bob's in Texas going for a week. Cases and cases of beer, many kegs and cases of booze. But we weren't finished. We called the local paper and placed a help wanted ad. Told you it was an old story. Since we served liquor, the law was that you had to pay for the ad first. However, the girl on the phone recognized our account and decided to post it without payment. The ad begged for help for all positions. We were paying 1.5 times the average rate. The stars were aligned. Deliveries showed up 30 minutes after the owner. Daughter and son-in-law were all off the property. Truck after truck. And the poor girl who was the only employee there signed for everything. She thought it was a lot, but didn't know how to send it back. She accepted everything. Then the applicants showed up. 55 people in line for a job. Okay, that was SH. We didn't think that one through and caused a lot of people to waste time, gas, babysitters, etc. D move on our part. Our frontal lobe wasn't developed, so we learned from that. The son-in-law was standing outside screaming, we're not hiring, go home. They didn't. The food sat there for hours in the summer heat until the owners got back. There wasn't near enough refrigeration, so the frozen food, steaks, kegs, etc. all sat out in their delivery area. It wasn't air-conditioned and had 4 home fridges to hold food. Basically a garage. The vendors wouldn't take anything back since it had sat out so long. Alcoholic beverages couldn't be returned by law. They lost it all. We had no idea the amount it cost them, but it beat the SH out of our fee they should have paid. We got calls from the owner, son-in-law, and everyone we knew who worked there. They knew we did it but couldn't prove it. We never admitted it and unbelievably didn't fess up for 25 years. God, that was a glorious day. You two really gave them a real surprise fest. They might think they were lucky to be booked for such a large-scale event, but as it turned out, it was a real surprise trap. First, they fired your friend for no reason at all, and you decided to pay them back in kind, ordering food and alcohol for the week ahead, and putting out a job posting that brought 55 people in for interview. It was a real scam, haha. And while it was true that you felt sorry for the people who spent time and effort trying to find a job, you made your former employers experience a most valuable lesson in HR and the value of engaging with your employees. Wouldn't that be a great comedy? You decided to take matters into your own hands when you were laid off, and you thought carefully about your action. That was brilliant. And here's what's really impressive. You kept it a secret for 25 years. The second story is replaceable or needed. So I work in the large printing industry, and a few years ago, I had a contract in a local company in the main city. As I'm also an IT guy, I managed the computers and network there, although my main tasks were print-related. Once I recovered a full hard drive of files from our clients that the guys at the computer shop couldn't recover, and when they knew I had done it, they called to our office asking me what software I had used, and if I could send them the license. Yes, they asked me that by phone. Of course I said no, I can't. Done with it. But back to the main story here. I was crossing the river every day without being able to save money for anything. So one day I talked to my boss and told him I had to search for a job closer to me. He offered me a small raise, but I knew it would not be substantial and kept my idea. He would not change his position either, and honestly, I wasn't expecting anything different from him. He rarely appreciated the small things I used to do for the company. Me and my coworker friend were tired of being told about our own work from somebody who doesn't know what he's talking about. This boss used to tell us he could get one guy to do both of our jobs alone. Me in the printing and designing, he in the printing and vinyl application and vehicles and stores. So in my next vacation, I had the chance to go to a job interview at a small printing shop much closer to me, and with the same paycheck. So win-win. I gave my boss a 60-day notice and left. He was so much surprised when I told him that because frankly, he didn't see that coming. Out with that, I started to work in the new job. Peaceful. I treated my boss as equal, by his request, and things went smooth for about 1 year. That is until I met a girl who I was to fall in love with, and she lived on the other side of the river, making me travel a lot when I wanted to visit her. Again, I looked for another job, now back in the main city. I looked pretty much everywhere, but replies were almost none. That's when I decided I still had one last chance, my old job. I was hoping not to use that last resource, but I really had nothing else and gave it a go. My old boss was thrilled to have me back. This time at that company, I didn't have a contract yet, as my boss was postponing it for some reason. Mind you, I had created a site with an online store for this company, and what did I get in return? My female coworker suggesting I was taking too long with the website, and always delaying it on purpose. So I just wanted a small opportunity to leave them, as that boss used to tell he could get another guy, so get one. Then a friend from a few years ago calls me and tells me, hey, I need you to come to work with me, creating websites. I said to her okay and warned my boss. This time he offered me more, but again I wasn't buying it. I had no contract and let it go easily in a week. This was after the pandemic start, and our monthly income has fallen, while my former boss was always telling he would pay us back for the amount he was owing us. He didn't keep his word regarding me because I left, which was one more red flag for him. I leave, I work with a few clients with my friend for a few months, until she tells me in a straightforward way, if we can't find more clients in the next month, we're better off looking for something else to do. I told her, okay, don't worry, I'll start looking. Bingo, I got my current actual job, and this is a whole new world now. People are understanding. Paycheck is great, better than before, and they value the small things I do and was already able to improve here. In exchange, I got an extra compensation payment, twice. Now, what was my petty revenge here? After I leave my old job for the second time, I still had remote access to the main computer, what we used to refer as the server, because it had the main client databases, files, and invoice software. It was a few minutes past 1 a.m., and I logged in. The computer used to run 24/7 because my female ex-coworker used to remote access it too from home occasionally. I went to the task scheduler and created a new event. Shut down without notice after 5 minutes inactive. I could pay to see their faces. Now remember when my boss used to tell me and my other coworker friend he could get another guy for both our jobs? He didn't get any, and my friend left his job too. And the ex-boss, he called me when I was already working in my new job. I didn't answer. I was busy working anyway, and don't have the time for that kind of people. Your ability to find new job opportunities, even after a setback, is reminiscent of a true master craftsman who always finds a new path to success. You've turned your rejections into opportunities to find a better job and justify your time and effort with a higher salary. But your last malicious pastime, which included shutting down the computer's server via task scheduler, was like a final laugh in response to all the injustices and misunderstandings you faced. Well done, OP. Imagine if your old boss tried to replace you with a single person, but couldn't find anyone. Yes, it turned out that you're inexhaustible and irreplaceable. Now, when your old boss calls you, you could just answer, you know, my time is very valuable, and I can't talk to everyone. I'm too busy now seeing how my new employer needs me more than you do. The third story is Operation Southern Freedom. Backstory: we had gotten a new principal who would verbally abuse the students and demoralize them in front of the assemblies he called corrective punishment. This principal was the worst, and we figured out the school board hired him over other due to some founded health. South is corrupt as F. We tried telling the police, but the cops were in on it, to also getting some extra pay to let this happen. Well, hours of 200 students, including me, had had enough of this corrupt BS, so we stayed a plan we called Southern Freedom. The plan was, if the police and board won't help, we'll torture this guy enough to leave. We had 4 different squads: Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta. Each of us had our own part to play. We would meet up at a random location by using Morse food by tapping to tell the heads of the squad we were meeting. We would do research on the principal and come to find he has a revoked medical license and was dishonorably charged from the military. He had botched up multiple surgeries as a plastic surgeon, and he lost his license because of it. And he was discharged due to assault of an officer in command. We printed out all the files we could find on him and loaded them in backpacks and hid them in random areas of the school where people couldn't find them. We were finally ready to put our plan into action. We had one final briefing at a duck club my family owned, and told them, "You all have your mission, but don't hurt the family." I really didn't want the family to get hurt because they really haven't done anything wrong. Alpha, my squad with Bravo, were tasked with getting into the school and taking the files everywhere. We had previously bought really fluffy jackets to cover up our shape, and masks to cover our faces. We met with a teacher on the way to the school, who gave us a key to the school. She was in on the plan. Before we got to the school, we put on our mask and jackets and walked through a field, so they wouldn't see our trucks. We get in the school and everything is going good. We put them everywhere you think of, if there was one there. We had to spray paint as well to spray the cameras to help with them not being able to figure out who we were. We didn't talk at all because the camera can pick up our voices, so we wrote on paper. I had a special time in the principal's office because he had publicly humiliated my best friend in one of his sessions, and I had a steaming pile of trash in a bag I threw all around the room. With our part of the mission complete, we snuck out and went back through the field, and got in and took off our gear. By this time, Charlie and Delta were done, and were already at the location we planned to meet. Their mission was slashing the principal's tires and TP his house to the point you couldn't tell there was a house. We had them also throw trash in the yard as well. We've burned all our gear to cover our tracks and dumped what remained in a pit, and buried it and put a tarp over it. Didn't get to see his face, but I did get to at school and he was furious. He resigned later because he said the pay isn't worth risking my life over at one of his sessions. Edit: I forgot to add the reason our parents didn't help us because they thought the principal was doing a good job, and that we needed to be punished. Even James Bond could envy such justified revenge. This director received a corrected punishment from the real master, and now he retired because he didn't want to risk his life in your correctional sessions anymore. Now perhaps you'll think twice before correcting others. You are real superheroes. I hope you love these stories. Subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on notifications. Thank you for watching and have a good day.